Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time you were with us as Muriel crash landed, basically, into the mortal realm.
Right, that first encounter with Bohel and Asra and their trek to Rosewood. A lot happened.
Definitely. So now we're diving straight into the next chunk, chapters 3 through 6 of the Lore of Bravado GPT v3.pdf.
Okay, and our mission for you today is really to get a solid, quick grasp on Muriel's first real steps in this world.
Yeah, how she starts learning about Bravado as they know it, which is different, and, the first signs of trouble brewing.
Exactly. We're drawing from these narrative chapters, so it's very much her personal journey, lots of action, lots of discovery.
So get ready. We'll be looking into these different Bravado disciplines, some maybe unexpected team-ups, and those first hints of a bigger fight to come.
Let's kick it off with Chapter 3, Muriel's first morning in Rosewood.
Yes, the morning after, she's aching, which feels very real, and then you have Bohel just bursting with enthusiasm for royal training.
Yeah, probably the last thing she wanted. It's a great contrast, though, that physical reality hitting her, but also this Akashic duty being pushed on her immediately.
It sort of grounds her, but also highlights the pressure.
Right. And then Soraya enters the picture, Asra's mother.
No time wasted there. Straight into training.
Very no nonsense. And what's the first lesson? Not flashy powers, but identifying plants.
Specifically, Ecojure root. For burns, even bravado-inflicted ones, super practical.
It tells you a lot about how they view bravado here. It's a force, sure, but it's also something that leaves real wounds, something you need practical knowledge to, manage.
A bit different from the reverence it seems to have in Akasha.
A world of difference, perhaps, driven by different needs.
Yeah.
And the training ground itself, quite serene, a clearing by a stream.
Doesn't match Soraya's intensity, though.
Not at all. Like the first lesson with Muriel's wing. Soraya's basically, those aren't just for show.
Use them, yeah. It's about function, not just appearance. Maybe in Akasha they were more symbolic.
Could be. Here, everything seems geared towards practical application. Which leads us to the sparring match.
Right, Muriel versus Asra. And it's pretty clear she's outmatched initially.
She's got the raw potential, maybe, but Asra have that natural talent, that fire bravado, and he knows how to use it. Muriel's green.
Soraya's yelling instructions to focus, and that line about bravado being instinct.
Trust yourself, and it'll follow. That's key. It's not just about willing it, it's about connecting with it instinctively.
And Muriel does have a moment like that, right? With the key of Enoch.
Yes, the vines.
Yeah.
She just makes them appear. Doesn't even seem to consciously decide to.
It suggests that power, that connection, is deeper than her conscious memory right now.
Exactly. The key seems to be channeling something innate in her.
Then Soraya drops some history. How bravado wasn't seen as some sacred gift here initially.
No, it was a dangerous storm. Something that forced adaptation, forced them to develop ways to control and channel it.
Like Kung Shi and Arcana, they came about out of necessity for survival.
That historical context is crucial. It explains the whole mortal realm perspective. Power born from danger, not just bestowed.
So you have Akasha's reverence versus the mortal view, bravado as a tool almost, an energy of will channeled by intent, thought, action.
Muriel starts to get it. It's less passive, more active engagement. You have to direct it.
Which brings us to the different disciplines. We hear about Arcana, which sounds like a structured, maybe more mental approach.
Seems likely. Then Kung Chi, which is Soraya's thing, training the body, willpower, the heart-first flamboyant fighters from Wei.
And heraldry, Akashic origins, high priestesses. Extremely rare.
And that's the trigger, isn't it? Talking about heraldry.
Yeah. Suddenly, Muriel's hit with these visions, shadowy figures, light, darkness, whispers.
And that really specific, unsettling image. A girl in blood-soaked red saying the discipline is known as heraldry.
She physically reacts, stumbles. Soraya's obviously concerned.
It's a huge sign that her past, especially the heraldry part, is fighting its way through the amnesia. And those visions, they don't exactly sound pleasant. Maybe trauma, maybe foresight.
Heavy stuff. But then the mood shifts later that evening.
Right, the dinner constellation scene.
Yeah.
Much calmer. Roasting some Murelian grazer by the fire.
We see Soraya's softer side, comforting Muriel a bit about the memory loss, the uncertainty.
It's a nice moment. Shows she's not just a taskmaster. There's empathy there.
She even praises Asra, which seems unusual for her, followed by a sad moment thinking about his father.
Adds layers to her character. Hints at her own history, her own losses.
And Muriel has that faint memory flash, just looking at stars. Another tiny piece of her past.
While Asra watches them, noticing Muriel laughing. Seems his initial frostiness is thawing.
Bonds are forming, yeah. It feels earned.
Then we get that quick intermission panel from Bohel, kind of showing off his knowledge.
Listing the ultimate techniques. Akasha's Arc of Elohim, Lark Mode, Kemet's Magnum Opus.
Waizasatsu, the Kunshi killing blow. Majoka's arcane ensemble. It's like a power rankings list.
Gives you a taste of the peak potential in each discipline.
Okay, let's move into Chapter 4. The Plains and the Ruin.
Starts with a very down-to-earth problem. Muriel needs clothes. Those Akashic robes aren't exactly blending in.
Leads to the market scene. Which is quite fun, actually. Muriel's all bubbly and positive despite everything.
And Asra's trying so hard to look cool and aloof.
He fails charmingly. She picks out these Commission-style clothes.
And Asra pays. The vendor gives him this look.
Yeah, I see what's going on here. Look, Muriel's just genuinely thankful, though. Another step for them.
We also hear about Soraya's loud bargaining skills and how they all agree to go on a relic hunt. Never a dull moment.
So off they go. Sparse grasslands, mesas, rumors of a dangerous ruin hidden inside one.
And Bohel reacts again through the key, senses a herald nearby.
Something like that. It leads them right to this massive hidden stone door. The key is definitely more than just an object.
Time for Soraya to show off again.
You bet. Kungchi #23. Po. Split apart. Creates this blade-thin sheet of ice.
And shatters the stone door, just like that.
Must be quite something for Muriel to witness that kind of control firsthand.
Inside, it's treasure time. But as Muriel approaches one relic in glass, the key changes shape.
And that triggers defenses, statues animate, attack.
Chaos. Soraya jumps in with another Kung Chi move, #63 Jijigwa. Asra shields Muriel.
Good teamwork, instinctively falling into roles. Soraya fights, Asra protects.
Afterwards, automaton smashed. Soraya's grabbing loot. Muriel's drawn to a necklace. The key is humming.
Bohl's pushing her. Make the contract, use the heraldry stuff.
She tries, but nothing happens until a memory surfaces.
Lilith's teaching about silence, focus, and a specific sacred word needed for bravado to flow properly.
And she remembers it. Osela.
Boom. Massive kinetoglyph appears. A keyhole forms.
A voice from the glyph. The offering is protection.
Muriel responds, reciting this ancient song about protecting the weak. It resonates.
And the second orb on the key lights up.
Yes, Sod. Then the summoning happens. Raphael, Herald of the Guard. Nightly appearance, vows to serve her.
And then just dissolves into the orb. Wow. Her first herald.
A huge step, tied to her memory, her innate desire to protect. Raphael seems fitting.
Soraya's reaction. Right, I need a drink.
Huh. Perfectly in character. Bohel, of course, is incredibly smug.
We get that panel of Raphael, protector of the meek, but then...
The mood shifts, back to the shadowy figure from Chapter 1, holding a similar orb.
Vowing to take the key, Muriel's definitely got unwanted attention now.
Big time. Her power isn't just awakening, it's sending ripples out.
Okay, Chapter 5. The title alone is something. The powerful martial artist with many styles of fighting.
It starts loud. Muriel screams. Asra bursts in.
And there's this guy, Heimei, just chillin', drinking Asra's tea like he owns the place.
Quite the entrance. Soraya recognizes his school's insignia, fantail pay.
Turns out he was a student of her old master, who has apparently died. And Heimei's here to challenge Soraya.
Pretty much. Wants to prove his strength very dramatically. Lots of posing.
The duel itself, though, not so dramatic for Soraya.
No. Heimei's all-intense focus. Soraya lifts bored. She uses Kung Chi, #40, Shun.
Freezes his shoulder instantly. Duel over.
Asra just quietly reclaims his teacup. It's almost comical how quickly she shuts Heimei down.
Heimei is stunned, obviously, but then he vows revenge, well, not revenge, but to surpass her. And Asra, too.
So a new rival is born. Driven by pride, maybe?
Seems like it. The chapter then jumps forward a few weeks.
Right, the section titled, For We Owe Many. The group's traveling, but Soraya's off on her own mission, heading to Port Murcha.
It's Muriel, Asra, Bohel, and a still grumbling Heimei. An odd team.
We even get a glimpse of Soraya's mission arm wrestling in a tavern. Very Soraya.
But when they reach Port Murcha, it's destroyed.
And Muriel gets that creepy feeling of familiarity again. Something bad happened here, and it connects to her somehow.
Then they find him, the twitching man, covered in runes, muttering.
Until he just explodes, transforms, unleashes these imp creatures.
And yells, "Legion, for we are many." Terrifying.
Yeah, definitely a dark turn. Corrupted bravado, demonic influence, something nasty.
The fight is on. Asra, Heimei jump in, and Muriel decides, no more hesitation.
Big moment for her. She summons Bohel into Lark mode. Uses Kunchi GG #64 to flash step into the air.
She's combining techniques, then creates an arrow from her flower crown, lark arrow, and hits Legion.
Showing real growth, real creativity under pressure, using everything she's learned.
Asra catches her as she falls. May wants to chase Legion, who escaped.
But they decide to stay, help the survivors. A good choice.
Then we cut away to Abaddon's lair.
Legion is reporting back, and Abaddon hears Muriel's name and smiles sinisterly.
Not good. He knows about her now. The chapter ends with that image of Muriel, wings radiant, showing her high priestess potential.
Highlighting the power she represents and the danger she's now in.
Moving to the final chapter for today, Chapter 6, The Pride of Disraeli.
Starts days after the battle. Port Murch is recovering, government aid arriving. Muriel's waking in a hospital tent.
Remembering the fight triggers another flashback, doesn't it? Lilith versus Abaddon. Her own survival.
Yeah, reinforces why she needs to get stronger. She's seen Abaddon's power before.
Then, a new arrival. Nikola Tesla.
Niece of the Mona Lisa, apparently. A technomancer from Disraeli. And Asra's cousin.
Leads to some awkward family hellos, and she accidentally sits on May, who's still recovering. Oops.
Introduces technology into this mix. Technomancy, that's a whole new angle.
Back at Soraya's shop, Nikola unveils her ride, an airship. In walker mode first, Soraya calls her the Pride of Disraeli.
May's reaction to her being related to Mona Lisa is priceless. This team keeps getting weirder in a good way.
That evening, they debrief Soraya about Port Murcha, about Legion.
Soraya's worried. Decides she needs expert advice, plans to visit an arcane historian, Osvaldo Gustav, in her hometown, Balsam.
Nicola's listening in, looking super excited about all the magic talk. You can see her gears turning.
A potential bridge between magic and technology there, perhaps.
Would be, but the chapter ends back with the bad guys.
Abaddon's lair again. He's tacking a new agent, a Cometian named Demetrius, specifically to find Muriel.
And then he does something awful. Forcibly uses a reliquor on Demetrius, transforms his eye,
and whispers, Usila, corrupting the sacred word Muriel just learned.
showing he can twist the very essence of bravado or arcana for his dark purposes. It's chilling. Abaddon's army is growing.
So, wrapping up these chapters, 3 to 6, Muriel's journey is accelerated massively.
Yeah, from basic training, almost failing, to summoning her first Herald, facing truly dark forces and gaining new, unexpected allies.
You see, Bravado isn't monolithic. You've got Kung Chi, Arcana, the rare heraldry, and now even technomancy brushing up against it.
And the key of Enoch is clearly central. Not just a tool, but a connection to her past, her power, and maybe even a target.
Absolutely. For you listening, hopefully you've gotten that quick but deep dive into Muriel's early trials. You've seen the different takes on Bravado, the significance of the key, and how Akasha and this mortal realm are starting to interact through her.
Plus, the surprise introduction of tech. It keeps things fresh.
It definitely does. Which leaves us, and you, with a big question to ponder.
Right. Abaddon knows Muriel's name now. He's actively hunting the key. Legion is still out there. What's next for Muriel and this eclectic group?
What other secrets about Bravado, about Akasha, about Lilith and Abaddon are still waiting to be uncovered? How will technology play into all this?
Plenty to think about. Join us next time on The Deep Dive as we continue following Muriel's path and see where these threads lead.